Hello, and welcome to Some Kind of Podcast. This is a podcast where we entertain you by talking about what entertains us. I'm this week's host, Tim, and I'm obviously joined by my dynamic duo, Christian
Hello.
and Cody.
Hello.
So, got lots to talk about today, gentlemen, so let's just get right on into it. Briefly going to recap the Sony State of Play that happened over the past week. For those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, allow me to plug the fact that Cody and I did live stream it, and I believe that we recorded it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I haven't edited
Sure.
it, but
we'll say I
got it.
recorded it, and then hopefully by the time you're listening to this, it's on the YouTube channel. So go check it out at Some Kind of Entertainment on YouTube. But anyway, I just want to get you guys kind of brief thoughts on it all. I'm just going to kind of list out everything that they kind of went over a little bit, and then just kind of get your general impressions of the whole entire State of Play of themselves. So the first thing up is that they went over the PS5 enhancements for Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Then from on there, they went to the all-new Returnal gameplay that looked pretty interesting. They introduced a game called Sifu, I guess is what it's supposed to be called. It's about a kung fu master. It's coming out sometime this year. They went into a little bit more about Knockout City, which is like Fortnite meets Dodgeball. They journeyed inside a new game called Ultra Void. Not a whole lot known on that. I think that's the game that was sort of like Journey-esque.
Oh, yeah.
Went into a little bit further in depth to Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which looks terrifying. A little bit of Oddworld Soulstorm. They announced a release date for it of April 6th. Some gameplay on the new Kena Bridge of Spirits game, which looks pretty cool. Debuted a new trailer for Deathloop. And then obviously the big thing at the end of the Sony conference was on June 10th, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. So your thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, my initial thought is that comparatively to the Nintendo Direct, it was light years better.
Yeah, the Nintendo Direct was kind of boring.
Like there was like two things I cared about in the Nintendo Direct.
I honestly, as I sit here right now, I can't think of a single thing that they went over in the Nintendo Direct.
Only thing I really cared about was the Legend of Zelda HD port.
No, Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword, yeah.
Anyway, Sony. I still haven't played the new Crash Bandicoot game. I was waiting for the PS5 version, so I'll probably pick that up. Sifu. I'm actually really,
I think it's Sifu.
Sifu. I'm really excited about that. That looked really cool and unique. What was the Returnal, right?
Yeah, Returnal is the game that with the
It's like a Souls-like game, but it's in space.
It's like Souls meets Dead Cells almost, where like you die and then you get upgrades and then you just progress further.
I'm pretty into that. I have what was it called when you just like to punish yourself? Was it masochist?
Masochism.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know why I enjoy the Souls games so much, but yeah, I'll get it. The Journey-esque game that you mentioned.
Ultra Void.
Ultra Void. Yeah, I mean it looks pretty.
Oh, sorry. You go inside the Ultra Void. The game's actually called Solar Ash.
Oh, Solar Ash. Okay, yeah, that sounds more familiar. I'll probably pass. I mean, like it looks cool and pretty and unique and like a fun little like platformer adventure game, but I'll pass. I couldn't care any less about Oddworld. I there's nothing intriguing about that series at all to me. I know...
played them. I played the original Oddworld Abe's Odyssey when I was a kid, and it was really weird then. And it was in the 90s when things were just kind of weird in general for it to be a kid, I guess. So I kind of on the same board with you with that.
I mean, obviously it still has a fan base, so kudos to you, whoever you are. It's like that one Browns fan that's out there. No, honestly, I know a lot of people are mixed on it, but I am so stoked for Intergrade. for the
There
remake.
are mixed reviews on it.
Yeah, well, okay. There's mixed reviews mainly because it's PS5 exclusive.
Um,
It's not
is it really?
yeah, it's not coming to PS4.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can't pre-order it on PS4. So a lot of people are pissed because they can't get a PS5. It's
Mm,
so crazy difficult to get one. So,
yeah,
it's hard to get excited about something you have no chance of playing because you can't get one because it's being scooped up by bots and scalpers.
yeah,
Um, so I mean, I sympathize with those people for sure. But I'm really excited about the implications of what Integrate is, because it's new story. It's not something that was in 7. Um,
yeah. It's weird because like it looks like Yuffie's wearing that. I was about to say stupid, but weird.
it's so
Not
the
stupid. It's an odd Moogle
The
outfit.
Moogle like Shaw thing she has on, hood, whatever, is actually a throwback to Dirge of Cerberus. She was
Oh,
wearing
okay.
that in Dirge of Cerberus, which is far after 7, so I think it was just like a nod to the game. Um, but I'm more intrigued because the Yuffie that was in that trailer is not the Yuffie that's in 7
Hmm.
in terms of personality, because Yuffie is not a happy, like, go lucky, like fun person in 7.
Really? Because I mean, I never really knew. Because Yuffie, I mean, none of the characters in original Final Fantasy VII are voiced,
Well,
so
no,
it's
but
kind of hard to tell.
just by like she didn't joke. She didn't joke around and laugh at everything. And then like you look at her in like Advent Children, and she's very like, I don't want to say motherly, but she's very stern and like protective of her materia, and she's very like, we have a mission to do, let's do it. Uh, and she seemed way more happy in that trailer.
Yeah,
So I think my prediction of it is that I think this is going to take place during the events of the remake, and then something's going to happen that is going to completely alter her personality. Like that guy that you're with, I think is probably going to die, and it's going to affect her.
yeah.
So
I'm
I
actually looking up his name right now. Hold on.
I think it's like Sonnen or something like that.
Yeah. Uh, Go ahead. Keep talking.
Anyway, he doesn't show up in any of the other games, so that's why I think he's going to die, and I think it's going to affect her and make her the Yuffie that like I'm used to. So I'm interested to see how they do that, like a little prequel for Yuffie.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it definitely doesn't look like it's the next chapter, though.
no. It is an episode in the series, but it is not the next chapter. I think they briefly said something either during the direct or after the direct in like another a little announcement that they are working on the next part for the remake, but they didn't give anything other than it's going well.
Okay.
So, um,
It doesn't. If the Square Enix doesn't even officially announce this guy's name, and I couldn't find it anywhere, but they said it in the
in
trailer.
the trailer, and it's on his little name card. I think it's like Sonnen or something. I could be really wrong. But yeah, I'm super stoked for that. But that's I'm I know listening, you guys can't see it, and I guess you won't see it in the video either because you can't see your cameras. But I've got all kinds of 7 memorabilia behind me.
Yeah, I see a cloud poster right there.
Um, yeah,
Christian, what are your thoughts on the state of play?
So, I mean, I think I'm a little bit different from what Cody was stating. I would put the Nintendo, not the Pokemon, release, but just the generic one that came out the first part of last week and the latest state of play kind of on par with each other. Because there wasn't really much from either one that I was super stoked for. Like I was waiting for like the ball to drop during the state of play and be like, and bam, here's this new game that no one knew was coming and everybody's excited and it's awesome. And it didn't really happen. I mean, I guess it kind of did with 7. Like, I mean, like I thought that was cool that they're doing that. And I agree with Cody that probably is going to piss a bunch of people off since it is exclusive to PlayStation 5. And as soon as it came up, I was like, well, at least Cody and Tim will be excited, because I mean, I played backstory on me. I've never really played much of Final Fantasy series. I played 14 with you guys online, which was really my first really big experience with the franchise.
Yeah.
And then I finally got around and I played 7 remake, and I think I was fine with it. It's just, I think I've just kind of come to accept that it's not my cup of tea. It's not my go-to game that I really enjoy. But I do appreciate it, and I know there's a massive fan base for it. And it was a great game, so it's great to see that they're doing more content for it. But just like as a general, usually when Sony decides to do a state of play, it's because they've got something awesome that they want to share. And I just kind of felt like it was a bunch of tiny updates to stuff we already knew about.
Yeah, I will say
Essentially.
that like with the besides like the intergrade thing, they didn't really announce anything new.
No.
I mean, I guess if you're
Well-
into Five Nights at Freddy, that was something new, I think, that
Yeah.
wasn't announced before.
I was gonna say,
But I
don't
never-
think Five Nights was announced before, and then Sifu was new.
Okay, yeah, Sifu was new. But other than that, like there was nothing major. I was kind of hoping that like maybe we might get a little tease about God of War or something like that, but they didn't even mention it at all. You know, I know that not to kind of like out anything right here, but when all three of us worked at Yale Game Shop, it was almost like one of those ads that just kind of played on the TV behind you is kind of what I thought of the state of play. I don't know.
That's how they usually are, though. The state of plays are notoriously short and pretty like quick to the point.
Well, I mean, I think in years past, but in the past like year to two, Sony's heavily leaned on them for their big announcements, because they've backed away from being even present at all at E3, which used to be their main showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know like E3 is like essentially almost dead at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the quarantine has not done it any favors either.
There wasn't one last year, I don't think, and
They just
I mean,
did
who
like
knows
a
if there's
really long state of play, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see them doing like states of plays, or you know, Nintendo Directs or whatever the heck Xbox does. I don't even pay attention to them around the time that E3 would be, but I don't think that E3 is going to be much of a thing. I don't know, unless they want to unveil new hardware. I think the only reason why Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo would go to an E3 anymore.
No, I think it'll. I think when they left E3, because it was pre-COVID when they left E3.
Sony hasn't been at E3 in like 2 years now.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah, so I didn't expect anything new from that state of play. Like, it would have been nice to see like God of War and everything. But I feel like after the Cyberpunk debacle, all the developers are being hyper cautious right now, especially on next gen systems, which is where I think Nintendo is definitely going to benefit from. Because, I mean, no offense to Nintendo, but they're not using.
But are they though? Because
I don't.
Before Cyberpunk was Fallout 76, and before Fallout 76 was No Man's Sky. So, like, are they?
I think Cyberpunk was the kick that the developers, I don't know if they needed it or not, but it's what tipped the ship. And Nintendo wasn't affected by it because Nintendo doesn't make hyper, graphically intense games.
Well, everyone's always been talking about, especially recently, with the whole crunch thing with, people making games and developers and whatnot being pushed to work 80, 90-hour weeks and not really sleeping or eating or seeing their family to meet deadlines.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Cyberpunk was what they needed to have to finally maybe relax a little bit, because I know, for instance, I was watching some gameplay on Biomutant, which I knew nothing about until recently. And the reason why it was delayed, because it's supposed to come out years ago, actually, was because of crunch.
Yeah.
So they were trying to avoid it, and so that's why they pressed
it.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to fix bugs too, but they wanted to like take their time. Now, I don't know how accurate that is because I wasn't seeing anything from the studio itself, but that's what was being reported.
They announced it forever ago, and they had like one like cinematic trailer, and then there was almost nothing for like a year and a half. And they've just kind of every now and again just been like, yeah, we're still working on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I guess the only things we haven't really touched on, just to kind of bring up to get your thoughts on, how do y'all feel about Knockout City, which is essentially dodgeball meets Fortnite?
I'd happily pay $20 for it as a side game to fool around with, and I'd also could easily see it being just like the free game of the month for PlayStation
So
5
what if
at
it
some
was
point later
well,
this
if
year.
it was free to play?
Yeah, I mean, if it was free to play, I'd definitely check it out. I tried out Destruction All Stars, and I'm glad I didn't pay money for that game. So
Yeah, I was actually going to say, because of Destruction All Stars, I don't think I will pay for that game.
Really?
Because Destruction All Stars was such a disappointment to me. I'm so glad it was free.
Yeah, I would not want to have paid more than $20 for that game.
I would have been mad if I paid $20 for that game. I think I would pay like maybe 15 for the dodgeball game. What's it called?
Knockout City.
Knockout City. Like, I could see it being fun, but I could also see just me personally losing interest really fast.
You can use your teammate as a ball.
Oh boy.
it reminded me a lot of Splatoon. You guys ever
It
played
looked like
that?
Splatoon, Overwatch, and Fortnite like just merged and made a dodgeball game.
Yeah.
And then let's see here, Kina, which is the Bridge of Spirits game.
Oh yeah,
with
that's
the
a no-brainer. I'm getting the crap out
the
of
little
that.
characters.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. So the price tag on Kina kind of throws me off because I think it's like 39 or 49.
Yeah, it's 40.
It's $40 for the base game, 50 for the deluxe, which is what I got.
So and then like the whole marketing towards next gen games is that when a fully fledged next generation game like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart comes out, the base price for not deluxe or anything like that, just the basic game is $69.99.
Mm-hmm.
So if the basic thing of this is $39,
it's a short game.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed then because I was looking forward to that game and I want more to actually play than just a $30-$40 like indie game that you're probably going to beat in less than 10 hours.
You know, I don't want to like put in that, but it might be something like an Okami or like Pathways, that game that came out when the PS5 launched, where like it's just really short and has more about exploring than it is like action based.
Yeah, I think and I think I said something similar when we were watching the state of play, but I think it's going to be more of a cinematic game where, you know, it's more about exploring and, you know, there will obviously be some fighting and whatnot, but I think there's going to be a ton of cutscenes.
Yeah.
A lot of story. And I think the story is going to outweigh the length of the game. But I think that's why it's not a full price game.
I mean, I'm excited about it. I think I'm going to pick it up. Everything I've seen so far has gotten me like, it's gotten me like, okay, this is something I could probably get into at least, you know, if it's only $40. I mean, I can't really be too mad at that.
Yeah.
And then the last thing obviously would be Deathloop. They revealed a new trailer.
I just can't make up my mind on that game. I go back and forth on it like regularly.
I really want it. I think it looks like it's a lot of fun.
Which is surprising to me because knowing you and how much you hate first-person shooters,
I know
it's bizarre to me that you're like, I want this game.
It just looks like, I don't know, different. I don't know. It looks like it would be fun. I don't know. Christian,
yeah, so I definitely think you're right. It does look really interesting, and I think you and I are probably all of us are under the same. Like it's so far removed from like the typical norm of a first-person shooter, and has such a different play style, along with really cool graphics. And
yeah, it reminds me of Borderlands.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of like Borderlands and Dishonored.
Mm-hmm.
Never played Dishonored.
But, it had that like teleportation aspect to it.
But by putting out by a developer like Bethesda, like you know that like they have a lot of effort put into that game, and then it's gonna be great. The biggest concern with me is, I guess, also why the game looks interesting with, you know, having to like recycle through time over and over and over again until you can finally beat the other assassin and make it to the end of the game. Once you've done that, I don't think there's any replay value. So I mean, I could be wrong, but like from what the marketing they've done so far, since they announced the game, they've just kind of shown the same trailer with the slight modifications over and over again. So it kind of seems like how it's going to be. And then the other side of it is that Bethesda was bought by Xbox. So as far as longevity of this, like say if the game is phenomenal and it's great, the likelihood that it's ever going to get a sequel or any updates is probably very, very small.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested because it is available to buy right now on the PlayStation 5 store. So I guess
it's actually on discount to pre-order.
I'm pretty sure it's been on discount for like months now.
Yeah.
Which also I find weird. Like that for some, and it could just be reading too much into it, but I feel like whenever there's a pre-order for a game and they're willing to offer you a discount just to pre-order it, I kind of have a concern about that. Like
the only thing that like really concerns me, it's kind of like games like Dead Cells and Returnal itself, is that like how long is really the game if half of it is about starting it over and over and over again when you die?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are they just replacing content with just doing the same stuff over and over again?
Well, I see, and like the thing with Returnal that I think stands out from Deathloop is that with Returnal, when you die, the world changes. Like it's not.
That is true. With Returnal, it's not the same
when you come back.
And I don't know if Deathloop is like that too.
I don't think
similar.
It is.
I don't think the world changes, but I know the enemies do. So like the enemies will appear in different spots.
Yeah, because everybody there is conscious of the loop.
Yeah.
So like when you kill somebody and you loop back, they know that you killed them and they'll probably avoid where you killed them. So like to that degree, I think that's kind of cool that like if the AI actually learn and recognize what you did and then like make preparations to stop you from doing it again, that's kind of cool. But like Christian said, I'm more worried about end game and like replayability.
Okay. So, I mean, that essentially wrapped up the whole kind of state of play thing. I mean, I know that like you guys are kind of split on how you felt about it. I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little short personally, but I mean, Sony's kind of notorious for kind of just doing these throughout the whole entire year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
if they're short,
not like Nintendo. Nintendo drags them out.
Yeah, for nothing essentially. I don't know. I don't know about you, Christian, but I didn't really see anything in the Nintendo Direct that I really wanted to pick up. So
yeah, I mean, again, it was just kind of a bunch of updates. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like nothing major was announced. So
alrighty then. Well, moving right along, we have our first Metacritic update. For those of you that need a refresher on what that was, on episode 3, Cody, Christian, and I made predictions on what we think Metacritic results would be for 10 video games and 10 movies that are supposed to come out in 2021. The key word there is supposed to, because obviously, given the state of things are kind of a little bit in flux for most of the time. We made predictions on what we thought the percentages were going to be, and based on what the percentage is versus what we predicted, we get points. So to kind of recap the whole points thing, if you were 100% accurate, dead on the money, you got 4 points. If you were within 2 points of the actual percentage, you got 3 points. If you were in 5 points, you got 2. And if you were within 10, you got just 1 singular point. And if you were that far off and did more than 10, you get a you suck, because you don't get anything. You get jack is what I'm saying. So out of the 20 that we picked, the first one that came out was Persona 5 Strikers. It released on February 19th. You could play it a little bit earlier if you bought the collector's edition or whatever. You got it like 4 days earlier. Or it might have been the digital collector's edition. I can't remember. So we wanted to wait about a week to 10 days before we actually took the actual Metacritic result, just to make sure that there wasn't an influx of people voting and whatnot. So I looked yesterday, which would have been day number 10 from the release of Persona 5. Released on the day of recording. By now, by the time you're hearing this, it's been longer. So the Metacritic. So I guess I'll go with our predictions first. So for Persona 5 Strikers, Christian guessed an 84, I guessed an 85, and Cody guessed an 82%. The actual one from Metacritic as of yesterday was an 84.
Hey!
So that means right off the bat, Christian nails it right on the head and gets 4 points. Cody and I were still within 2 because he guessed an 82 and I guessed an 85, which means we each get 3 points. So if there was a leaderboard right now, if you want to look at it, Christian's on top with 4 points, and Cody and I are tied for second with 3 points. So it makes me a little bit worried because Christian was the person that set this up, and now he
That's true.
He gets one right on the bullseye right from the jump.
I did not have any prior knowledge, I promise.
Insider trading.
Yeah. Some things up forward to. The next 2 things that are on the radar for the month of March. Monster Hunter Rise does come out, I think, on the 21st.
It's at the end of the month at some point.
Yeah. And then Godzilla versus King Kong was supposed to come out this week, the first week of March when we're recording, but it actually got moved to the end of March. So it's now releasing on March 31st.
And Story of Seasons.
And Story of Seasons? Okay, I didn't even see Story of Seasons on there. So we have 3 of our Metacritic predictions coming out in March. So be prepared for more updates going down the line. But for right now, Christian leads the pack with 4 points. Well done, Christian, and your insider trading. I'm not saying it was a setup, but
feels like a setup.
I will say, like, when we did the whole thing, Christian made the point of like, I've never seen a score this high for one of the things that we did, and now I'm kind of like, maybe I should have listened to Christian a little bit better, because now I'm a little bit concerned about all my other picks.
Yep.
But hey, we were still within 2, Cody, for this one, so
we weren't.
It is what it is.
Completely wrong.
No, we were pretty accurate, just not as accurate as Christian.
Nope.
I think he was going up there and like just voting, trying to boost the score.
Trying to boost it up.
It got to 85, and he was like, "Ah, crap! Negative."
He's texting like his sister, like, "Hey, go on here and like, Ashley, go vote negative." I'm just kidding. Anyway, I digress. So, big topic of discussion today, gentlemen. It is the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. At the time of recording, it happened 3 days ago. Pokemon Red and Green in Japan, it was green in Japan, it ended up being blue in America, was released on February 27th, 1996, which means just this past weekend was the 25th anniversary. So I wanted to have a little topic of conversation about Pokemon today. So first of all, what is your guys' relationship with Pokemon and such of like, how do you feel about now, how you were introduced to it, things of that?
Yeah, so I mean, Pokemon was, I think we even talked about this back on episode 1 or 2. Pokemon was my first big obsession game. It was the first series that I really latched onto, played for hours and hours and hours. When I first played Pokemon Red, I basically was going to all the game shops around where I was living at the time up in Pennsylvania, trying to track down the other ones, even though every single time I went into a game shop, my parents would try to get the people to convince me. They're like, hey, it's the same game. There's just a few different Pokemon, and that's it. And I didn't care. I wanted all of them. So that's what I started off with Pokemon Red, went to Pokemon Yellow, and then I think I got Blue. I can't honestly remember on that one. But yeah, and then I've played it since. I haven't missed a generation since the original one. I guess I missed the first launch of Red and Blue. So when I played it, it was a little while afterwards. But then going forward, I played pretty much every single generation at launch. So it's happy birthday to Pokemon, and I am going to continue playing for probably ever.
Yeah.
Cody?
Pokemon Red, outside of like Tetris, was the first game that I ever played. On a Game Boy, and I got it. I didn't get it at launch. I definitely got it towards my birthday in '96 when it came out, which is at the end of the year. And yeah, like Christian, I was hooked. I haven't technically missed a generation. I just never finished Sun and Moon because I hated it. I played it and then didn't finish it because I have feelings about that game. But
okay, we can get into that a little bit more depth here.
Love Pokemon, always will.
Sure. I had a little bit of an interesting start to Pokemon. I wasn't immediately on board with Pokemon. Not that I hated it or anything. I just was one of those people that like wasn't in the know when new things were coming out. You know, I wouldn't say that I, suffered or anything when I was a kid. I don't know. I went outside and played more than I did anything else. Like I was always at the park. So I just missed out on some of the new cool things that are coming down the line. But a friend named Ryan, and around the time that Pokemon was getting big, there's another show that came out in the mid to late 90s that was getting really popular called South Park. And my friend Ryan was really into South Park. And there was an episode that came out about Chim Pokemon or something like that, or Chim. Yeah, something like that. And it was making fun of the whole Pokemon addiction kind of thing. And my friend Ryan was watching it because I wasn't allowed to watch South Park. And one day he was just kind of talking about the episode. And I was like, what the heck is Gym Pokemon? And he was like, the whole Pokemon craze. And then from there, I started watching the show. So I kind of became the crowd that he was making fun of, but whatever. And then I did play Red. I don't know where in the release calendar it was in, but I did play Red. I never got Blue, but I did play Red on my mom's boyfriend's Game Boy, because it sure as hell wasn't my Game Boy. And it was a fun fact, I also only played Tetris on it too, so it's just funny that those were the only two games that I also played. And that was kind of my introduction for Pokemon. But considering the game here, what were your starters? What were your picks for your starters here for each generation? So far there's been 8, but I'm kind of saying like 8.5 with the Let's Go Eevee, Pikachu, Yellow kind of era. That's kind of sort of in the early aughts / couple years ago. So what did you guys pick?
Well, so I would put Let's Go in like Gen 1 because I'm pretty sure it was just
that's kind of why I did like
the original 151.
8.5. Well, if you play Let's Go, there is new Pokemon in it. You can get Melton.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or like the end game, isn't it?
Yeah. But the base game, that's just the 151. For all 8 gens, with the exception of Let's Go and Yellow, because they force you to pick, Pikachu or Eevee. I picked the fire type. So I had Charmander, Cyndaquil, Torchic, Chimchar, Tepig, Fennekin, Litten, and Scorbunny. For just down the line. Fire.
Just 100% fire, huh?
Burn the competition, man.
At least you're consistent.
Was any one of these Pokemon like evolved into like a favorite Pokemon, or did you just like the fire type in general?
I just like the fire type in general. I mean, my favorites out of the starters are probably Cyndaquil and his last evolution, Typhlosion.
Yeah.
But my favorite Pokemon of all time is Gengar.
Oh, you're a Gengar guy, huh? Interesting. You like his Mega Evolution?
Oh yeah, I love his Mega Evolution.
I just think it's weird, just his big head.
I mean, that's what Haunter is. I really just like the whole Ghastly evolution chain, but yeah.
Okay, Christian?
Yeah, so I guess going through generations 1 through 8, I always thought in the back of my head that I was more of a fire type, as Cody was. And so when I was running through the generations the other day, I was really surprised at actually how like somewhat more diverse over the 3 types of starters that I was. So I started off with fire types. My first ever was Charmander, and then I went to Cyndaquil within Silver. And Cyndaquil is my favorite starter of all time. I'm excited to see him again in next year's game, Pokemon Arceus. And so yeah, and his evolution is also Typhlosion. I absolutely love. And then the following that for Gen 3, my first and only grass type I've ever picked was Trico. I don't really know why. Looking back on it now, I feel like I definitely should have chosen differently. Today I probably would have chosen like Mudkip. And then going forward from there, I went through like a water phase. So I did Piplup, Oshawott, Froakie, and then coming up to Gen 7 and 8, I went back to fire types and did Litten and Scorbunny. So I did overall of the 8 generations, I have 4 fire type, 3 water, and 1 grass.
Did you play the Let's Go?
I did, yeah. So in Let's Go, I guess tying in with Gen 1, I did Eevee as well.
Cool. All right, so this is going to sound a little bit copy and paste here, but I was also a big fire type guy. Maybe that's why we're all friends. Even went as far to like when I picked my team for Pokemon Go, I picked Valor because it was Moltres.
Same.
And I was like, I'm gonna pick the fire type because that's what I do. So Generation 1, Red and Blue, I picked Charmander because when I was a kid, Charizard was the be all end all for Pokemon. In fact, I watched a YouTube channel rank all 151 Pokemon, and Charizard was number 1. It beat Pikachu, which is the mascot for Pokemon. So, you can love Pikachu all you want, but the real OG King Daddy Goat is Charizard.
It is.
I'm sorry.
He was OP.
So my favorite game of the series is Silver. So I went with Cyndaquil again because I also love Typhlosion. He's a good Pokemon.
Lugia is
I skipped 3 and 4, but I skipped generations 3 and 4, but I'm gonna come back to them because I did some fantasy picks if I were to play these games right now. So skipping on to Generation 5, which was Black and White, I picked Tepig because it's a fire Pokemon. I went with Fennekin for X and Y. I'll get back to Fennekin here in 1 second. I never played Generation 7, so skipping on to 8 was obviously Scorbunny. When I second playthrough, I did pick Grookey. Just because I thought Rillaboom was kind of cool. And everybody was all up Sobble's butt. Like I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be like most people, like I don't want to pick him because it's cool, but the internet fell in love with Sobble.
I mean,
I was not a fan.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan, but yeah, they did.
And then obviously I had Let's Go Eevee. So I had Eevee as a starter. So I never played 3 and 4, so I did some fantasy kind of picking here. For Generation 3, I would also went with Trico, mainly because the shiny version of Trico is one of my favorite shiny Pokemon. Also, the Mega Evolve version of Serpentile, which I think is the final version of Trico, it becomes a dragon type, which I think is really cool.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so the Mega Evolve version becomes a dragon type Pokemon, which is really cool. Generation 4, I actually would have picked Piplup myself because I think the penguin's really cute.
Hey, yeah, Empyrean, I think.
Empyrean, yeah, it's also Water Steel, which I think is a cool
it's pretty
type difference. And then for Generation 7, which is Sun and Moon, which I think was gone off when I didn't play, I would have picked Litten. I would have went back to Fire. So I actually went from I picked all 3 in the generations that I didn't play as. But going back to Fennekin, the reason I picked Fennekin is because when it was original 151, I had 2 favorite Pokemon. It was Alakazam and it was Charizard. So, Psychic and Fire were my 2 major kind of things. When I built decks when I was a kid, I would put Psychic and Fire together. Mm-hmm. And Fennekin, when it becomes Delphox in its final form, is a Psychic Fire Pokemon. So it is without a shadow of doubt that Delphox is my favorite Pokemon. So
oh yeah, so that's your favorite Pokemon of all time or favorite starter?
No, it's my favorite Pokemon is Delphox.
I don't think I ever even said mine. Mine's Lucario.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
in my head, I knew that was your favorite, so it didn't register that you didn't say it. Like it was it's Lucario.
If you know your life and you know that I like Pokemon, you know that I like Lucario. So it was just mutually understood here that was my pick.
Yeah, no. Honestly, when you said it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, of course, Lucario. I knew that. Yeah, but Delphox, Fire, Psychic. those two combinations I think are both really cool.
Yeah.
And were my favorite as a kid. So when I saw that Delphox became Fire Psychic, I was like, oh no, you're so cool. Which, no one really ever hears anyone say Delphox. I think I'm the only person that like is in love with Delphox.
I mean, I love Delphox, especially as like if I had to pick types, like I'm definitely, like ghost fire, ghost psychic fire or whatever. So Delphox was amazing.
It was great. It was a great Pokemon to have. Like, I didn't know when I was playing, was it X and Y? Yeah, that Delphox became Fire Psychic. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So when Braxian, which is the second form of the evolved form of Fennekin, learned Psybeam, I was like, no way. So yeah. So we all played the games, and I know that we all watched the anime. And I don't know about you guys, but were you ever into the cards? I love the cards.
I was obsessed. I'm choosing to hold out the idiotic hope that it's somewhere in our attic, but I have a binder somewhere that's not totally completely destroyed, thrown away in a garbage dump somewhere from my past or whatever, from parents cleaning stuff out, that has, at least like 7 inches thick of Pokemon cards, including like original Charizard holographics and shit.
That's worth some money now, by the way.
Yeah,
It's worth, I think $1.50 online.
That binder is worth a ton of money.
If you have a dark Charizard, it's at least $200 online.
Yeah. More than likely, I'm like 99% sure it's just gone. I'll never have it again. But I was all about Pokemon, especially collecting those cards.
Yeah, so between Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards were like the two the two.
I missed the Yu-Gi-Oh
train.
I missed the Yu-Gi-Oh train.
They were the two things that it was my first big collection thing that I got obsessed with. I will say that in all the time I watched the show, all the time I spent playing the games and battling in there, I spent a lot of time collecting cards. I never really got into playing the actual card game.
Oh, no. I don't know how to play the game.
Until much, much later. Because I remember having this CD-ROM disc that I could put into my computer. That was actually the TCG Pokemon trading card game. And then when it came up on screen, I decided to just pop it in one day. I was like, I don't know how to freaking play this game, but like, I guess I'll try this out. And then I put it in and it was like, hey, do you want to do the tutorial and learn how to play? And I was like, oh, heck yeah, I don't know how to play this game. And so I did that. And then once I learned the ropes, I was like, this is awesome. And then so I did I think like a one tournament and then did horribly and never really did it again.
Well, I didn't have the CD-ROM to teach me, but I know that like we played at the park when I was a little kid. We played the Pokemon card trading card game, but who knows if we played it right. But fun fact, speaking of cards, I met my cousin. I saw him this past weekend, and he had a Pokemon card in his phone case because it was a clear phone case, and I thought that was really cool. So I did the same thing, and
cool.
I
Nice.
have a reverse holographic Charmander just kind of chilling in the back of my phone case because I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But I also collect the cards. So my real question for you guys with that whole thing is like, if you had to pick one and the rest went away between the cards, the game, and the anime, which one would you want to stick around?
The game.
Yeah, the game.
See, I'm a little bit different. I would pick the cards. I really like the cards, man. In fact, I think Pokemon is what got me into like all my card based, like, because I like playing cards. I like card board games. I like collecting cards. So like, I think it was the Pokemon cards that got me into that whole entire thing. And I don't think I would want to get rid of that. As much as I love the games, and it would be sad not to be able to play a Pokemon game again, with the exception of Arceus, which we'll talk about here in a second. Most of them have kind of been copy and paste with just updated graphics and new Pokemon.
Well, yeah. But no, and I guess if you rephrase that question, and out of the three, one had to go, I think for me it would be the trading card. Like, 'cause
Really?
I have too much of like a I can't think of the word.
Collection?
No, never mind. I'm just gonna move past it. I have too much of a long history with watching the anime to have that go away. Like, I
Sure.
grew up watching that anime as it came out, and I absolutely love it. I actually have the first season box set for the original anime on DVD that I'll go back and watch occasionally.
See, I think the anime would be the one thing I wouldn't miss.
Really?
Yeah, I think if I had to, if it was just, pick one to go away forever, it would be the anime.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I watched it growing up, but like,
Same.
if it came down to like, okay, you can watch Pokemon or Dragon Ball, I was going for Dragon Ball. Like,
Dragon Ball can go.
So like but that's not saying I didn't like Pokemon. I watched so much of Pokemon growing up, but like even as a young kid, it bugged the ever living hell out of me that this mofo never aged. My dude was 10 years old for like 20 seasons of this show.
Do you have a problem with The Simpsons then?
Yeah, I don't watch The Simpsons that much either.
Okay.
Honestly, like, as much as I love Family Guy, it bugs me
No?
that
Okay.
Stewie doesn't age.
I will say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I will admit totally that in the grant, even as someone who has a passion for the Pokemon anime, the Pokemon anime has never hit its full stride since its original inception.
I mean,
As the
It's gotten
seasons have
worse,
gone
in
on,
my
it's
opinion.
gotten
I
It
was-
went way downhill.
Okay, so we're all talking about this, and this kind of segues into my almost kind of next topic. We were watching this when we were kids, and I was 31 years old when Ash Ketchum finally won a tournament.
Yeah.
Poor dude.
I was 31. It was over
No.
20 years
My
before this
dude-
man won a tournament.
My dude has been taking L's for like 24 years.
Yeah.
And then,
Now, granted, he's gotten some crazy hijinks with like
I mean,
highly
sure.
you have highly evolved legendary Pokemon. It took you 20 years to. And
It-
first of all, you let them all go.
Yeah.
You let Charizard go.
So I will say, since the original show, since the original voice cast and all that, have you guys tried Pokemon Journeys on Netflix? It's like
It's
the
awful.
newest.
I'm just kidding. No, I haven't watched it. Is it the
haven't
movie,
watched
or are you talking about the show?
I was about to leave this chat and just disappear.
Is
No,
that the
I
one
was
that
just
actually
messing with
follows
you.
Red?
Yeah, Red's like a side character, yeah. And so like Ash teams up with this I can't even remember the name of. Anyway, it's probably the best Pokemon anime, in my opinion, that has come out since the original one.
You said it's on Netflix?
Yep, it's a Netflix original, actually.
Interesting. Check it out.
I feel like I missed that
s-
completely, actually.
So, since we were watching this as kids and are obviously still very passionate about it as adults, what do you think has made Pokemon so popular over the last 25 years?
The games.
Yeah, I mean the games, and like Tim said though, like what's interesting about Pokemon as a whole is, with the exception of a few games over the years like Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, it's kind of been a copy paste formula with updated generations. Like, there's new Pokemon in the game, there's new characters, there's a new environment to explore, but it's the same game.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think it's the fan base. Like the fan base that was from, like us, like this is the perfect example. Us all here in this chat that were there at the beginning still love the heck out of the series all these years later because we
Will
fell
do.
in love with it back then, and will continuously buy these games no matter what the heck they put out.
I still fangirl anytime something new comes out for Pokemon. I'm like,
Right. So, me too. And so I think that, like, the company picks up, new generations of players as it goes along. But I think the thing that really keeps it going, and I mean, honestly, that might be true with other long running franchises as well, is just the people, like fans get so invested in the franchise and in the series that no matter what happens, they'll stick with it and they keep buying those games so that it keeps enabling the company to keep putting out more.
Well, it's because we all want that fabled Pokemon game that doesn't exist.
We're getting
well,
closer.
We're getting closer to it, but it still doesn't
all right. Well,
exist.
let's go ahead and segue into this then. Recently, within the last week or so, the Pokemon Company have announced that from what it looks like, we've only saw a very basic minimum trailer and gameplay to be the first open world-esque Pokemon game, Pokemon Arceus. So since you guys are talking about it, what are your thoughts on that in the future for Pokemon?
Cody has a very vivid imagination as to what the future roadmap of the Pokemon Company looks like, so I'll let him take this one.
I feel like there's some strong opinions coming.
Look. First off, I don't know if it's pronounced Arceus or Arceus. I've heard it both ways, so I'll probably just say Arceus. That's how I've always said it.
I know what you mean. It's like you're gonna jump on me like how I say Jif.
If you could see my face right now. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna move past that. So Pokemon Arceus, it does look like it's an open world Pokemon RPG, which I think is phenomenal. It looks like it's definitely like in the vein of Breath of the Wild, where it's this big, massive open world, and you're going to be able to catch Pokemon and battle them and all that good stuff. Now, we've seen very little about it, so we don't know outside.
Yeah, it's not supposed to come out for another year at the
like,
minimum.
We know that it's supposed to come out early 2022, and that there are battles.
Was it even that?
Yeah,
I just heard 2022.
No, they said early 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, they might have even said spring.
Yeah, you can see that you can actually catch Pokemon in the wild.
They're running around in wild, and it looks like it's a free camera, like Breath of the Wild. And there is traditional battle mechanics, because they showed the moveset on the screen. But outside of that, we don't know anything. We don't know if there's going to be, some kind of gym leader-esque system where you're or dojo system, kahuna system, whatever. Like we don't
say it's supposed to take place years.
Yeah, it's like feudal Japan.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that's going to entail.
The game is called Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
So
there's gonna be some overall plot. Obviously, we don't know what that is. We don't know how long the game's gonna be. I'm intrigued by it. I'm definitely excited about it. So I've had this, and I think most Pokemon fans, especially if you grew up with the games, and the reason people keep buying them is because there's a fabled Pokemon game that everyone wants. And it's either that, there's like three versions of it. There's the MMO that everyone wants, where you can run around and literally do, whatever you want in all the regions, and, team up with your friends and explore, become a police officer with Growlithe, and do whatever you want. And then there's the big ass open world game where it's all the regions, and you can go from, region to region and battle all the gym leaders and the Elite Four in each region, and then, maybe become like the ultimate champion or whatever. But it would be a big open world, free camera type game. And I think that game is like 5 to 10 years, if not more, down the road. And I feel like over the years they've been testing.
We're going to be 40 playing this game, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think they've been slowly testing the waters over the years, like Christian was saying, because like they branched off for a brief period of time and made like Coliseum and Stadium, and then they did Pokken more recently, and stuff like that. So, and then with Sword and Shield, they introduced the idea of an open world with a slightly freer camera. So I think that they're testing the waters. So I think with Pokemon Legends, if it goes well, I think it's just one more step towards that fabled game that we all want. I think the problem with Pokemon in my mind is that it is essentially copy and paste per game. Like the environments obviously change, new Pokemon or whatever, but the formula is essentially the same.
I mean, yeah, but,
You
if
know?
it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So
But I feel like they're too timid and they're afraid to take that big jump, which is why Arceus, I think, is so surprising to a lot of people, because it is a very vastly different game. Just by the first glimpse that we've had.
yeah.
So
I think you bring a good point. The Pokemon Company and Game Freak as a whole have been very timid about doing any sort of vast changes to the formula that we've all come to know and love. And I think if Legends works, it'll become its own franchise that'll do like an every other year system with the basic core RPG games. So like you might have Gen 9 in 23, and then you have the sequel to Legends in 24, and they'll keep going back and forth for a while.
I could see
So,
that, or I could see them, depending on the success of Legends, just straight up making Gen 9 in that way.
I
well,
just think they'll. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
here's my thought process on it, and here's why I guess I'm sort of agreeing with Christian. Um, Pokemon, as much as we sit here and love it, and are in, well, Christian's not close to his 30s yet, but Cody and I are in our 30s. Talking about it is something that was very beloved to us, that we fondness very traily, is that Pokemon is for children. I don't mean to say that negatively. It's just that's what they're marketing to. That's what their whole ploy is towards children. All the stuff that like they promote and sell, and that's why I think it's so copy and paste with their games, is because their games are also meant for children. Now, obviously, as their first generational fan base, which would be all of us here in this chat party, have grown up, we've obviously been craving and desiring something more than just the generic, I'm going to go become a Pokemon master.
Yeah.
Something more in depth and set in almost this reality, which, for a long time, I feel that, the Pokemon Company have been very timid about, because, like I said, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And for a long time, they've been doing it. So I think Arceus might be the first time that they're actually given a nod to their older audience.
Well, I agree. I think it's the second time though. It's the second time.
Okay.
Was it Coliseum, Christian, with the shadow Pokemon?
Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon Gale of Darkness.
Right. So I think that was their first time stepping out of it, because it was dark. It was like there were bad guys with shadow Pokeballs, and they were stealing and corrupting Pokemon to hurt people and other Pokemon.
Okay.
And it was like, whoa. And it didn't go well, because, again, like you said, their core audience at that time was like 14.
Mm-hmm.
And they still, they've been angling towards, younger crowds. And I don't think we were, for lack of better terminology, I don't think their audience was mature enough to get it. And so I feel like those games didn't do too well at the time. I think now they're definitely like cult classics.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the time it didn't work, and I feel like Nintendo has always been like, oh god, it didn't work. Okay, let's never do that again.
Yeah.
And now they're finally getting out of that shell, but I still think it's aimed more towards a younger audience, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, by that logic, though, I mean, I think every single game that Nintendo ever produces is geared towards children. Like, I don't think Nintendo doesn't, as a first-party studio, does not produce anything that's towards a mature audience.
No. It's definitely younger audience or
family.
family.
Right. And based on kind of like what Tim was getting at, though, with the target demographics and audiences, though, the reason I don't think the core RPG will ever go away is because it's like the perfect introductory to the franchise. And so if they keep putting out new games that are following that same copy paste formula, it still works for him because people are being born every single day. People are growing up and discovering video games for the first time. And it's that great part of the franchise to just jump in and learn the mechanics of Pokemon and then say, like, hey, once you love it, okay. And once you get used to it, once you played one or two of those games, then there's this, next step up now, hopefully, which is Pokemon Legends, which is a little bit more in depth, more into the lore, more into the backstory, kind of going the more like, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild route. And then hopefully down the line, like you were saying before, Cody, maybe there'll be another step above that. That'll be an actual fully immersive MMORPG that we can all love.
I think there's another game or two in between Pokemon Legends Arceus and the fabled game that we all want. I think there's another 2 games at least before we get that.
Well, I hope that
I think
if Pokemon Legends is going to be what I hope it is, and it will eventually lead to that game where like I can actually just be my own trainer and go and do what I want to do, and whether it's catch Pokemon or fight Pokemon or trade Pokemon or breed Pokemon or just have them water my crops if I want to. I hope that the Legends it becomes a series. Like I'd play a Legends Dialga game or a Legends Mewtwo game or a Legends Lugia. Legends Lugia just sounds like it'd be awesome. On various different regions. But like, what do you want out of Pokemon Arceus?
I want it to be successful. I want it to be, in my mind, I mean, I would like to see some kind of a gym situation, or maybe even like you're starting gyms, like you're putting that stuff together. So
like you're the first gym leader.
Maybe you're the first gym leader, or you're the one that like paves the way and like sets up gyms. But I hope that I hope that it's not just an empty blank, world. I hope that there's multiple villages and towns, and we briefly talked to Steven the other day. He was hoping that there wasn't going to be like crafting and stuff like that, but I think that there will be. I think that, he joked like it's going to take like 2 sticks and a clump of mud to make a Pokeball or something, but like, I can kind of,
dude, that'd be really cool.
I can kind of see that.
What if you had to get like, well, first of all, Pokeballs are made by acorns. If we've all played Pokemon, we know.
But you know what I mean.
But if you had to like go find a fire Pokemon to like make it harden, or like if you needed to make something like damp to go find a water Pokemon, that'd be kind of cool. I'd be on board with that.
I'd be all for some kind of crafting mechanic, where you have to have specific types of Pokemon to do specific things, and really get in depth with that kind of stuff. Just again, to test the waters. I think that's what this game is. I think it's a test. And depending on how well it goes is going to determine what the next test is. And I think the next test is a game like this that's probably in a more modern time period, that would allow co-op to some degree between you and one friend or you and 2 friends or whatever. No more than 4 people at a time. I think that's the game after this one. And then depending on how successful that is, there's either one more or the Holy Grail game.
Christian, what are your thoughts? What do you want from Arceus?
Yeah, so I mean, I think first and foremost, kind of like Cody was mentioning, the Nintendo is not known for being a risk taker. Mm-hmm. And so when they branch out from their mold and what they're used to, and they take a chance, like I think the Legends kind of is, I just hope it does well. Like whatever it is, I want it to sell well so that Nintendo's, shareholders can be like, hey, this was a great idea. Let's continue down this path. Because if it doesn't do well, then we're probably just going to get another 10 to 20 years of just what we've had for the past 8 years.
Which honestly, if I'm being real honest, if we do just if this is just a one-off and they're not going to do anything with it, I might stop playing the games again for a little bit because they could get kind of tedious just with the copy and paste aspect.
Yeah. And And with this next game, like I kind of hope, like Cody, you were saying that like you don't think there'll be a co-op or multiplayer mechanics in this next one. It'll be down the line. I hope that there's something, like I don't expect it to be like, full on co-op or full on multiplayer. But even in like the latest Animal Crossing game, how you could like visit each other's islands, and like the game wasn't co-op by any means, and you couldn't the what you could do in the game while someone was visiting your island was very limited. So I mean, even if they did something like that to where like it could at least start to splash into that multiplayer realm, would be something that I'd love to see.
Well,
Yeah.
before Nintendo even does that, like, I don't mean to interrupt you, Cody, but my thought real quick. Before Nintendo even does that, they need to add some sort of communication on their online services. Because right now, if you're going to play with your friends, you can't really talk unless you want to use the PlayStation Network or Discord.
I mean, there's a app. There's like a Discord-esque app for Nintendo, but like you have to put it on your phone.
Yeah, so much rather just use Discord.
Yeah.
The online services for Nintendo definitely need to be ironed out before any Pokemon MMORPG is pursued. That needs to be the first thing that's kind of, straightened out and get up to par with PSN, Xbox Live, things like that, and Steam before they pursue that. But just on the game as a whole, going back to the Legends, I would love to hear some lore. I want to hear about like the foundation of the region. I want to hear about, like the foundation of the Pokemon League itself, whether that's you working alongside the founding members of the Pokemon League and how it started. Maybe, you start to see the first gym or two crop up. I think overall plot, what I'd love to see, like if the gym 1 or 2 starts to like, get developed and like, made halfway or end game, that's cool. But I would love to see like the foundations of Team Rocket and see like how they started, and then like it still is like like the enemy is Team Rocket, but instead of being like years and years later where Team Rocket's just like this known evil force in the universe, like it's actually like at its foundation of like how did it get started, why did it get started, and things like that. So
no, I definitely hope that there's that stuff, but in terms of the multiplayer, so you brought up a good point with Animal Crossing. I think that's the next game. I think that style is the next game. Because, unless they decide to introduce...
Like the cartoony style?
No. Unless they introduce base building into this Arceus game, right? Which would be great. I think that's the next Pokemon game that'll have base building. And you'll be able to invite your friends to your base and battle them and stuff like that. I think if there is...
Or gym building.
Yeah, or gym building or whatever. But I think if there is any kind of multiplayer in this game, it won't be anything different than what was in Sword and Shield. There will be a specific area where you could team up and take on raid battles or something. But I don't personally see it going any further than that, if at all. You'll obviously be able to battle your friends. That's a staple for Pokemon since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was, the cable from one Game Boy to the other, like there's always been that aspect of battling your friends. So
right,
there will have to be some kind of mechanic for that.
Well,
I just always... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, go finish.
I was just gonna say one last little thought. It was such like a tease during the games over the years, whenever you'd have like your rival and you'd be like, hey, let's team up and take on these 2 members of Team Rocket or whatever. I was like, this freaking sucks, because it's just enough of a tease where I'm like, crap, this would be awesome if this was co-op and we could actually go through this, like essentially dungeon of like Team Rocket's hideout together with a friend.
That would be dope if they're like instances, like in like a Final Fantasy 14 kind of aspect, or WoW. That'd
just
be dope.
Straight up dungeons.
You just take 6 Pokemon and you guys go and you battle whoever the trainers are in there.
Yeah, just like a straight up, like a legitimate dungeon or raid where it's like a whole like actual thing. Like, can you imagine like a legit like Destiny or Final Fantasy 14 style raid with Pokemon?
I'd lose my mind. I would. I would lose my mind, man. That would be so
it'd be
cool.
so good.
Once you lose your 6 Pokemon, you're just kind of out.
That's the fabled game.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And I think we're like 10 years before it happens, if that. Like, I think it could be longer, but
man. The one thing I really hope that Arceus does is that I don't want it to handheld me. If it's gonna be Breath of the Wild-esque, I want it to be Breath of the Wild-esque, where like I kind of figure it out as I go along. I don't want the here's a Pokemon Center, you can heal your Pokemon there.
I think it will be more Breath of the Wild, and I was gonna say this earlier. I truly don't think we would have this game if we didn't have Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was the first time that they've taken a legitimate risk with the Zelda series, outside of like Wind Waker making it all toony and going, you know, like that Toon Link route for some of their spin-offs. Breath of the Wild was a legitimate like left turn for the series in terms of how they played, with like breakable weapons and crafting and cooking and stuff like that. So I think because they took that risk, it's taken them this long to make this risk, because that one worked. That's why I think there's another 2 or 3 risks down the road that we don't know about, depending on how this one goes.
All right, well, to kind of start wrapping things up here, to leave the future in mystery because we don't know, but to talk about something that we do know, what would your guys' personal favorite moment be with Pokemon? It could be with the game, the anime, the cards, something you bought, something you experienced, what have you.
So I mean, I think personally, me just as a kid, I think that the moments that stand out the most was, after I got, into the franchise, into the series, started playing the games. I had my Game Boy Advance SP, which was like that weird folding laptop style Game Boy. And I'd go to like friends' birthday parties, and I distinctly remember this one memory where like we were at a party and everyone had to put their initials in Sharpie on the back of their Game Boy Advance SP because we all had it, but everyone had different colors, which was nice. And I remember looking up on top of the fridge at one of my friends' houses, and I saw them like stacked up like 6 or 7 high. And at those parties, of course, we would trade with the old link cables, battle each other. And so I think it's the sense of like community that Pokemon has brought over the years, whether playing with friends online, through the new like kind of online format of battling, or like at its foundation with the cords and being right next to each other, whether it's the card games or the show. So
yeah, my favorite is definitely similar to that. Anyone listening, if you grew up near my hometown of Harrisburg, North Carolina, in the middle of podunk nowhere, I went to Harrisburg Elementary, and at the time, there's a grocery store there now, so you can't find it. I'm sorry. It was a 2-story elementary high school. Like it was basically like this big ass castle of a building that I went to school with, and school at rather. And we had like a big old stone courtyard, and it was this whole thing. My favorite moment was I don't know, it was probably first grade. I don't think it was kindergarten. Just sitting out on the stone steps of that school and linking up with a friend in my class for the first time and actually battling him. And then, like that became a semi-regular thing where people would be like, oh, you guys have Pokemon. I do too. And then it would be like this whole thing where we would all just battle each other and trade. And that was beautiful.
So mine is a little bit more personal, where I didn't share with anybody. But when I was playing Silver, once you beat Silver, you can go and explore Kanto. And I thought it was just like, okay, I'll go to Saffron City and they're going to do a little something there, and that's going to be the end of it. But nope, you can go and battle all the gym leaders again. And then if you battle all the gym leaders, you go up to Mount Silver. And if you get all the way to the top of Mount Silver, there is Red. And you can battle Red, and he'll destroy you with his level 80 Pikachu, which you probably weren't ready for at that time. But, after you train around Mount Silver, because there's a lot of high level Pokemon there, you can eventually beat Red. And I remember the first time I beat Red, I was like maybe 12 or 13. And I just remember sitting back with like, this is the greatest game of all time. And ever since then, it's been sad to me that you can't go to the other regions, and I think that's really sad.
But
that's my personal favorite moment with Pokemon is beating Red on top of Mount Silver.
So fun fact, or addition to your story, I was there when you were playing Soul Silver and beat Red for the first time in Soul Silver. I was at your apartment that was when you had Legend and you were living with the two roommates.
Yeah.
We were just chilling, and you had been trying to beat Red for like 4 days.
He's so hard.
And then you finally did it and like lost your ever loving mind. So I definitely remember. I can't imagine what it was like when you were 12, but
probably less expletives.
I was gonna say I was definitely there for the adult Tim doing it, and that was pretty great.
Yeah. Well, Soul Silver is my favorite Pokemon game. I know we talked about that in episode 1, but it's Soul Silver for me. So when I got the chance to play not Soul Silver, it was Silver. So I got a chance to play Soul Silver. I was back to being 12-year-old me with my Game Boy Advance Color.
Playing. So we said for our favorite Pokemon. So Tim, you said your favorite's Silver. Your favorite Pokemon game of all time?
Pokemon Yellow. Yeah. If Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee had included battles, other than like the gyms and like you could actually battle the Pokemon and it was a legitimate remake of Yellow, it would have been that one. But I was not a fan of like the catch mechanics of like Let's Go in that game. So yeah, it's definitely Yellow. The fact it was the first time that your Pokemon followed you outside of its Pokeball, and it felt more like it was like, to me, it was the anime, the game. You know what I mean? Like it felt like the legitimate Pokemon anime in game form. So that to me is my favorite personally.
Christian?
So I have two that are kind of tied, but they both involve Lugia. So Silver is one of mine, and the other one is Gale of Darkness, which came out on the GameCube.
I never played that one. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. So Stay Coliseum was the first part of like the Shadow Pokemon world. And then Gale of Darkness was like, I guess, kind of the sequel to that, but it didn't have the same main character. It was and it had kind of a different plot too. But then like the big bad Shadow Pokemon that was like end game that you had to beat was Shadow Lugia.
Oh.
And so that was and like as Cody was saying, like I think I was pretty young when I was playing through this, and it was super dark as far as Pokemon
like
games go.
7 or younger.
Yeah, I was pretty young, but anyway, I played this game on the GameCube, and I was like, I feel like this is too old for me, but I enjoyed every moment of it. I was like, this is so cool.
This is really dark.
And I don't think, even with Silver being my favorite, I don't think I ever beat Red. I don't think I ever
really.
Went back and
it's hard.
It.
Red is very difficult because he is at like level 80.
He has all the starters.
Yeah.
Maxed up. He has his Pikachu. He has his Gyarados. Like he's ready to rock.
He's Ash. He is what Ash should be by the end of the first series of Pokemon, but then he's Ash is a little whatever, and he ditches Charizard, and then for whatever reason Pikachu loses like all of his abilities and strength every time he goes somewhere new, and he's just like, no, I didn't just kill or defeat Mewtwo. Now I can't beat this Tepig. Ooh.
If it makes you feel any better, you get a really great cutscene when you beat Red.
Yeah.
A little text box comes up, and it just goes ... and he disappears.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
That's all you get.
That's really all you get. I think you might get like some sort of item or something. I can't remember, but
I don't remember.
It's not. You just beat it, so you can be like, I beat Red.
Yeah.
And that was the character I played in the last game. That was me from there, but it's not me because it's Ash. But they can't say Ash because there were two different companies at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's hard. but yeah, so I never played. I didn't really know about a lot of these extra Pokemon games because after the Super Nintendo, I didn't own a Nintendo system. I own handhelds, but I didn't own a Nintendo system until the Switch.
Oh wow, you didn't have like a DS or anything?
I had the handhelds.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Like I'm talking like an actual console. I didn't own any Nintendo
you didn't have
until
the Switch or the Wii U, or not the Switch, not the Switch, the Wii or the Wii U.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't have a 64. I didn't have a GameCube. I didn't have a Wii. I didn't have a Wii U.
You didn't miss anything
I went from
on the Wii U.
NES to Switch because I fell in love with Sony in between. So,
well, I've always said that Nintendo hit its stride with handhelds. That is where they are supreme, is handhelds.
Yeah. But anyway, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Wrapping this up, happy birthday to Pokemon. Do either you gentlemen have any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, as you said, happy birthday to Pokemon.
That being said, please go out and support Arceus because it's probably something that will eventually lead to hopefully that mythical game that we're all trying to get for. With that being said, thank you for listening. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at SKO Entertainers, or visit our website, www.skoentertainment.net, for more information. Also, check out our YouTube channel for some Resident Evil playthroughs. I know that Cody is vastly editing some that I'm doing, and that he and Christian are playing Resident Evil 6. Finally, don't forget to join us next week, because even on the best of days, we all need some kind of entertainment. Bye, guys.
See ya.
See ya.